sorry, cut out once again. But when you fall to the ground, your legs are going to go up. Maybe he did kick them, and only Mateus Pereira will know this. But I don't think that was a red. But that still isn't an excuse for how we fell apart. Despite having a few chances at the end of that game, we completely just fell apart, since we were okay until Zaha really well, really skillfully, to be fair, shot it into the back of the net, curled it in, and then we just fell apart. Benteke scored for like the first time in about 5 years. It's a joke, of course. But to be fair, since then, Benteke's actually been good for Palace this year. He's actually had a good year for Palace since his first season where Big Sam got things out of him. And it won't be the last time, of course, we mention Big Sam, as that's coming up in a few moments. But we fell apart, and I think this really felt like Bilic had to go. And I think that Newcastle game, it kind of felt like this was going to have to be Bilic's game to really, really get us back on track. And we went 1-0 down in the first, 20 seconds. Oh dear. We were very poor that day. At half-time, we brought Charlie Austin on. And Charlie Austin had a good game. He was okay. Phillips crossed it in. Furlong with a lovely volley. Just getting in front of his man. And, putting it into the bottom corner. And at this point, we should have just been more solid. I think we took... Who did we take off? I think we took off Gallagher, yeah. And brought Kravinovic on or something like that. Or we brought Krasicki on. And at this point, we should have just kept the defensive players on. And just tried to stay solid. But we didn't. And it ultimately cost us when former West Brom hero, Dwight Gale, headed it into the back of the net. A lovely, lovely cross, to be fair, but they should not have been able to get such a good cross into the box. And this is when Bilic was ultimately sacked. Okay, he managed another game, but I think this was when... I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure this was when the decision to sack Bilic was made, straight after this game. But I think because we couldn't, COVID test maybe Burton, the youth team coach, I think that ultimately meant that he had to manage the City game. And I think Bilic knew he was going because the performance the players put in was stupendous. Okay, they went 1-0 down. We got it 1-0, a Jai deflected shot that ended up being an own goal. I think Ruben Dias' own goal. And we looked very good defensively. Johnston had a blinder. The defence was very solid. Charlie Austin was brought on and did an okay job. And then the next day, Bilic was sacked. At the time, I felt kind of depressed about it, to be honest. Although I agreed with the decision that he needed to go, I think it was just depressing because he always seemed he was such a sound guy, and he got us promoted, and you wanted it just to go better with him, but it didn't. And the same day we brought in Allardyce. Very surprising, I thought, that it would be a few weeks. I thought we'd probably play Villa and Liverpool, those kind of games, under Burton. Or, I don't know, somebody else, maybe Morrison, I suppose, was in the youth academy coaching setup at this point. Maybe someone like him. But Allardyce came in that day, which was one of the weirdest days in our recent history. And that Sunday, he managed the game against Aston Villa, last game until Christmas. And we didn't turn up. We were very, very bad, conceding in early minutes. Livermore got sent off. Well, whether you agree with it was a red or not a red, it was still probably stupid from Livermore. It was 1-0 for a lot of the game until we went through it a bit more, then we collapsed. Not collapsed, but then we conceded a few goals. We conceded 3, but 1 was offside. After the game, Allardyce pretty much threw Livermore under the bus, and Livermore under the bus? Doesn't make any sense. Livermore under the bus, and I don't think that helped Allardyce at all, really, with the players, with Livermore being a respected member of the team, and the captain. So we then played Liverpool away in what looked a lot better. They went 1-0 down, 1-0 up, but ultimately we got it back 1-0 with a lovely Ajayi header, bouncing in, out and back in again. Not bounce towards the goal, bouncing out and in. That's it. It came out with a 1-1 draw, and it started to seem maybe the Allardyce era would, would go a bit better. We'd start to get wins. And then we played Leeds United. Oh dear. Hans Sawyer scored of our own goal and we fell apart. It's just doing this podcast just reminds me of how much we fell apart last season. We used to fall apart for England. We would fall apart for we could get gold medals at the Olympics for falling apart last season. Arsenal didn't turn up. Tierney scored a good goal, but yeah, there's no really point talking about Arsenal, is there? First game of January, window was open, and before the Blackpool game, we made a few signings. He brought in Andy Lonergan and Robert Snodgrass. Lonergan, good first team, third choice keeper. Snodgrass, very good professional. But he wouldn't make his debut until Wolverhampton Wanderers. But before we played Wolverhampton Wanderers in their gold orangey kit, we played Blackpool in their tangerine kits. Very similar, except Wolves have black shorts, Blackpool have white shorts. That sounded a little bit like a tongue twister for me. Anyway, FA Cup game, it was poor. The second side was played. Not really much to talk about, not much to write home about. They went 1-0 up. We made it back to 2-1. Seemed like we'd probably get the win until they made it 2-all. And they won on penalties, which was one of the most obvious kind of, you could see that coming from a mile off, they were going to win on penalties that day. But then was time for the derby. And Wolves fans, they were saying, oh, we're going to beat you 4-0, we're going to beat you 5-0. I think we all thought, yeah, just go out there, don't lose 4-0, 5-0. Let us still have the 5-1 to gloat about. Let us still have that Oddawingy hat-trick to gloat about. And then I heard the Baggies Broadcast podcast, and they said that Wolves weren't scoring that much. And that gave me a bit of confidence. I thought, maybe we might only lose 1-0. Then it came to the game, and we went 1-0 up through Pereira with a penalty. And then that's when your hopes start to get up. You start to think, oh my gosh, could we get a win in the derby? Could we get a win in the Black Country derby? Could we have another... We can't have another 5-1, of course, but could we get a win? Nope. They scored a few late goals as that wasn't looking good. 2-1 down. Yeah, maybe they are going to get their 4-1, 5-1. Come out of the second half, look a bit better. We get another penalty. Pereira, very well, slots it in the back of the net. Throw-in. Bartley heads it to Ajayi. Ajayi decides to score a goal. Of course, very good header. We're 3-2 up, and Snodgrass that day was immense. We looked so much better. And we got a win in the Black Country derby. Our second win of the season. I mean, just wow. We looked so good. We put in a real performance. We then played West Ham, of course. Things didn't look as good that day. But it was still a decent performance. I was still quite optimistic even after that game. Pereira scored a very good goal. But because we looked alright, I kind of came out of it, not feeling happy, of course, but not particularly feeling too down as well. I thought, maybe we could get some wins. Manchester City, 5-0 loss. I don't even want to talk about that, do we? We should have scored early on, maybe, but stupid game, really. Then we made our first signing well, not first signing actually. What am I saying? Second signing, as we brought in Mbai Jagne. What would turn out to be, decent signing. He would start on the bench against Fulham in what would be a very poor game where we went 1-0 down and we were lucky. We were lucky not to be 2-0, 3-0 down that day. And Jagne come on and he turned our fortunes around. making it 1-0 with a Bartley header and 2-1 with a Diagne assist to Pereira, who shot with kind of the outside of his foot, and I think he took a bit of deflection. Good goal. And then, of course, like a typical Albion game, Vane went and made it 2-2. So yeah, that was that, and Brighton beating Tottenham. That's when it really felt like we were going down. And I think that's when I think a lot of people thought we were going down a lot sooner, and to be honest, yeah, you were right. I thought we might have still had a chance even after that Fulham game. But going into Sheffield United, despite going 1-0 up and having an okay half with a Matt Phillips goal, funny actually, before that goal, before he scored, I thought, will this be Phillips' first season at the Albion not to score for us? It wasn't. He got another 2, including the other 2 being one of the Sheffield United goals. Sorry, not one of it, the Sheffield United goal, as we lost 2-1. Ultimately, a poor game from us, where we just fell apart in that second half, and it wasn't even that surprising. We weren't that good in the first half. Played Tottenham, and this was the debut for Yukuzlu and Maitland-Niles, who we brought in on the deadline day. Maitland-Niles I was very, very optimistic about. I thought it would be a really good signing, and Yukuzlu I thought would be decent as well. It turned out to kind of be the other way around. Yukuzlu was a very good signing. Maitland-Niles was okay. He wasn't as good as I think we thought he would be. I think we thought Maitland-Niles would give us a lot more attacking, going forward prowess than he did, which he didn't really give us much of. But it was a swept under kind of against Tottenham. It wasn't a great performance from them. We did have the ball in the back of the net twice, and then by Diagne brace, but both were offside. Then played Manchester United. Honestly, it feels like I'm just saying, then we played. Don't really know how else to do this. But then Manchester United up next. 1-0 in front. Oh my gosh. Diagne with a very good header. Not really got much to say about these games, to be fair. We then sat back. It kind of cost us. Fernandez volleyed it in very well. Second half, and Diagne should have had a hat-trick. We sent Maitland-Niles through, and I don't think he had the confidence to use his weak foot, his left foot, to kind of pull it back, so he went with his right foot, and it just ended up, no, I don't know what happened to it, but he certainly didn't end up in a goal. And then Diagne got the ball off Maguire and shot it above the bar. He then shot it above the bar from across. He could have probably scored about 4 goals that day if Maitland-Niles got it to him, if he scored after robbing Maguire, and if he scored from the cross. Ultimately drew on all thanks to Johnston doing a worldie of a save in the last minute to deny Maguire. Oh. Burnley next, and a game where we looked disappointing. I think after that Manchester United game, I think I had a bit more confidence. Maybe we could still stay up. Yeah, 0-0 draw against Burnley. We should have won it despite having 10 men. Then played Brighton. Went 1-0 up in one of the craziest games of the season. 1-0 up, Bartley header. Seems to be going well. And then, from a free kick, they score, but it's rightfully ruled out. Then they get a penalty, which they miss. They get another penalty, which they miss. And it was like, it was just mad. It was just mental. How we won that game, I'll never know. But winning against, Brighton, it seemed like we, maybe could still do it. We had Everton, Newcastle, Palace. We could get some wins. Everton, not an awful performance, but lost 1-0. Newcastle, 0-0 draw. Just a poor game. Palace, 1-0 loss. I think you can just gloss over these. These are all poor performances where we didn't really turn up. Well, we did turn up. We just put too much emphasis on our defending and never went forward. Pereira was stuck out of the wing, and he would be until we played Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. Now, this is one of the games you want to talk about. Oh my word. Possibly up there with our best performance of our time in the Premier League. Possibly our best performance of the last 20 years. Let's go through it. We of course went 1-0 down from a free kick. I think it was a rebound actually. Ivanovic came on, then he came off after O'Shea got injured, and because of this, we decided to do a bit of a change. Robinson up front, Pereira in the centre, and my word, did Pereira in the centre paid off. Johnston lumps it as far as he can upfield. Pereira breaks the offside trap and exquisitely places it over Mendy. Pereira then gets on the ball, takes it past a load of players and slots it into the back of the net. We're 2-1 up against Chelsea at half-time. Of course they went down to 10 men before this. I forgot to mention Thiago Silva got sent off. And then in the second half, you think, okay, maybe we surely can't. This surely is just going to be a 2-1 win at the most. Probably a 2-2 draw. And then Townsend gets upfield, or does it? Or was it the cross that I forget the order of the goals. I think it was Van Furlong whipping a ball in. Robinson, sweet as a nut. If you understand let me know if you understand the reference to the journey. When Alex Hunter's father he calls his volley against Coventry, sort of in that, just a bit of a reference. But yeah, Robinson, sweet as a nut into the top corner. Then, I think it was then, this could have become before, Townsend to Pereira, plays it back to Jagney, lovely shot into the back of the net. And then Chelsea score, and I'm thinking, oh gosh, it's happening, it's going to happen again. They're going to get 2 goals, they're going to complete the comeback, we're going to draw 4-4, aren't we? No, we held on, and Robinson cheekily chipped Mendy. 5-2. We beat Chelsea 5-2. It was the shock result of the season, I think. Maybe not. There were some other ones, like Aston Villa beating Liverpool 7-2, Leicester beating Man City 5-2, but it's definitely up there. Who saw that coming? Thomas Tuchel comes in, makes Chelsea a much better side, stops them from conceding, and concedes 5 to us who haven't scored, or has scored, what, 1 goal? 1 goal in our last 5 games. We put 5 past Chelsea. And it wouldn't get better, but it certainly wouldn't get worse. Southampton at home. And we start off by being once again robbed. But it didn't matter because we got the penalty and Pereira smashed it in. 1-0. And then, a cross in and Phillips makes it 2-0. Southampton didn't really look at it at all until Robinson sent through and makes it 3-0. This time, those 2 games, for being an Albion fan, it was just being in dream world. Even if we weren't going to stay up, we were winning and we looked like a proper Premier League side. And then we lost 3-0 to Leicester. And of course, all good things have to come to an end, don't they? All good things have to come to an end. Aston Villa away. What to say about that game? Went 1-0 down for a very cheap penalty. Not penalty. Pereira, that probably might not have been a penalty either that we got. But Pereira scores 1-1. We then hit the bar. And then Jagney scores. It was technically an own goal. I'm not so sure. I think that might be his goal. But then, 2-1 win. We're going to get another win in a Midlands derby. If it wasn't for Kyle Bartley making pretty much his first mistake in months. Just clear... Why didn't he just clear the ball? I don't want to dwell on it because it was just so painful, but he just needed to clear the ball. You can't just put all the mistake on Bartley, though. The person who put the cross in, or the ball into the box, should have been closed down. Townsend should have done better with the header. Bartley should have been known by Johnson or Townsend that there was a player there. Let's just move on. No, we don't want to talk about that, do we? No, nobody wants to talk about that. But it was a second Midlands rival in a row, West Midlands rival in a row rather, and now a Black Country derby against Wolves. And it was a pretty, it wasn't really in anything first half. Until Fabio Silva scored from a very lucky deflected shot. 1-0 down. We conceded just before half time. Something we never do. You never do in football. You never concede before half time or at the end of games. You have to stop. You have to stop the side from conceding if you want to do well in football. But we started off very well, and a great cross from, I think, Townsend it was, and Jagney's got his third goal for West Brom. Lovely cushioned header down onto the ground and into the back of the net for 1-1, and that's what it would end. It would also end with some... it would absolutely pour it down, raining cats and dogs, not just spitting, but absolutely tipping it down. We then played Arsenal away in a game that if we failed to win, we would be officially relegated from the Premier League. Despite, we were 2-0 down, Pereira then gave us some hope with a magical Pereira run, magical Mateus, all the way from their half, and put it back in the net. Then we conceded to a Willian free kick. Next up, Liverpool. With us being relegated, we saw Harl Robson-Kanu get a quick run in the side, and boy, did he pay that off. With a lovely, really well-worked goal, really lovely finish into the bottom corner. Didn't really matter. It was a nice, nice we won up against Liverpool. Until the referee gave them a ghost free kick, and we conceded. It was just poor, wasn't it? It was just generally very poor. And we thought, we then thought we were 2-1 up when Bartley scored, but another just stupid VAR decision that cost us. And then we conceded to the goalkeeper. This season, man, has just been, oh my word, it's been really horrific at times. So we lost 2-1 to Liverpool, then played West Ham. We looked okay, went 1-0 up. Pereira scored from a corner. Then they just buried us under a mountain of goals. And Leeds United lost 3-1. Didn't really turn up. Robson, but why would you? To be honest, why would you turn up? You're relegated. And yeah, Robson-Kanu finishes in the back of the net. After the West Ham game, of course, we learnt that Allardyce was on his way out. I can't really blame him. Thank you, Allardyce, for coming to the club. I appreciate what you've done. I appreciate you making us better. I'm happy, we've had the memories of the Southampton, the Brighton, the Wolves, and of course the Chelsea win. Brought in some good players like Yukuzlu and Maitland-Niles and Jagney, and Snodgrass will be hopefully a good player for us next season in the Championship. I was disappointed that he didn't choose to stay on with us because I think he could have got us up and maybe even kept us up if he indeed got us up. But that wasn't to be the case, and we would look for a new manager. So that is it. We have gone through every single game, and if you've managed to make it this far, I salute you, my friend, because not many people have made with this far, especially with me talking, because most of the time it's just me saying something and then waiting about a 5-second gap before I say the next thing. Right, so that is it. Now let's just have a quick look at the squad that we had, and I'm just going to give them a little bit of a summary on how their season did. Also, very quick shout out to the lovely kits we got this year. Wasn't a massive fan of them when they were first announced, but they've really grown on me. I'm not sure about the third kit. The away kit's okay, and the home kit is just... A lot of other fans don't like it. They don't like it, we don't care. It's a lovely shirt from Puma. So, of course, our goalkeeper was Sam Johnston. He proved me wrong. He proved me absolutely flipping wrong. I thought we would need a new goalkeeper this season. I didn't think Johnston would be Premier League level, and he proved me wrong. And I'm so happy to say he proved me wrong. Believe me, for all I could say, oh, I told you so, I told you Johnston wasn't good enough. Why would anybody want to have the ability to say I told you so rather than having a world-class season from their goalkeeper? And Johnston was immense. He kept us in games at times. And I do shudder to think what it would have been like without him. No disrespect to Button, he's a decent goalkeeper, and he did well against Wolves. I think the 2 goals he conceded, couldn't really do much about, but it was a standard performance, and I think a lot of those saves Button would have made, and wouldn't be expected to make, because some of those saves were seriously just world-class stops. He didn't really make many mistakes. I think Everton he was poor against, but apart from that, I think he's been pretty solid. Now going on to... well, the right backs according to FIFA. I'm just going through the FIFA players just to kind of just to get it in chronological and make sure I don't forget anybody. Darnell Furlong, I think hit and mix, hit and miss. I think at times this season, Furlong looked solid. At times he didn't really look good enough. But what can you expect from a £3 million signing from QPR? Not disrespect to QPR, of course, but Championship side. Actually, should we just go for the sign and give it? Let's give him a rating. So Sam Johnston, I am going to give him an A+. I think he's been absolutely immense this season. I think, comparing the price tag and the expectations of him, he's been great. There was an interview last season that he wanted to push for the England squad, and we all thought that was a bit far-fetched, and he's done it. So, kudos to Sam Johnston. Great season. David Button, I'm going to give him a C. He's just not really had the opportunity, and when he's done it, he's done okay, but he's never been particularly outstanding. Darnell Furlong, just talked about him for a bit. I'm going to give him a C+, because he has, he's done well. I think for his price tag and for the expectations, and at times he's looked good as well. Dara O'Shea, I've been impressed with him. I think it's been a good season considering his age. He's 22 years old. He's still very young for a defender. So yeah, I'm gonna give him a B. I think at centre back he's looked solid at times this season. Ivanovic, I'm gonna give him a D. He's, I suppose he was on a 3. It's not that we spent a lot of money on him, but he just wasn't as good as I think we thought he would be. I think he just a disappointing signing, really. Sami Ajayi, he's not been that great this season, but again, he came in from £1.5 million from Rotherham. So I don't think, I think he's been okay, Ajayi. Without being particularly that good, he's been alright. I'm going to give him a B- for Ajayi, because he has made some mistakes, but he's looked good in games as well. Bartley, I'm going to give an A, because at the start of the season he looked really poor. And okay, I'm not rewarding him for looking poor, but I'm rewarding him for how he's come back from looking poor to ending up being very, he looks solid at times under Allardyce. We have Hagazi in there. I can't really give him a grade because he didn't play, nor can I give Keeper a grade because he never played for us in the Premier League. He did play. I'm just going to give them a standard C, because they've not done anything. They've not really done anything. Left back Kieran Gibbs, I'm going to give a D, because I think we all thought he would be better, and I think he should have. I think he's been poor. But to be fair, he's been plagued by injuries. So maybe D's a bit harsh, but I think he was just poor this season. And next up is Connor Townsend. I'm going to give him an A. He's adapted to the Premier League so well. He was playing in League One a few years ago, and he's come to the Premier League, and he's adapted. He's adapted really, really well. I mean, he was good for us in the Championship last season, but he's gone from that, to doing that in the Premier League. So yeah, Connor Townsend, he's had a really good season. Next up is Okay Yukuzlu. What a signing on loan. So he ended the season, he didn't end the season that well, but still, I don't think anybody can deny, at his best, very good. A+ for me. Maybe not, maybe an A actually, because he didn't end the season very well at all. But yeah, impressive Yukuzlu. Jake Livermore, sorry, it's going to have to be a C-, and it only gets a D because, maybe no, C-. I'm going to give him a C- because he's been poor. I feel maybe a D is a bit harsh because at times he's looked better for me than Gibbs and Ivanovic, so I'm going to give him a C-. Sam Field, not really done much. A standard C, just for not really doing much. When he's played, he's looked okay. Romain Sawyers, it's not been a particularly good season for Sawyers, and I think that he'll be the first to admit that. I'm going to give him a C- as well. He looks okay in games like Chelsea at home, or West Ham away. He looked alright in that game, but he never really looked good. He's not looked as good as he did like at the start of the 19 to 20 season. For months now, he's been out of form. And Harper, again, not really done much, but he's not really been given many opportunities this season. I can't even really remember him playing in the Premier League. I think he's only played about 2 or 3 times, so I can't really give him a grade. And now we come to Matheus Pereira, a triple, quadruples plus for him. Wow. Amazing season. Actually, I'm going to give him an A. Just because I don't think we can forget he was pretty poor for the start of the season. And I'm not saying that he's had a bad season. I think just an A. I think if he was in that form at the start of the season, I'd give him an A+. No, I am going to give him an A+, actually. If he was at the form at the start of the season as well as the end of the season, he would get like an unbelievable. Can you even get an A triple? No, he'd get a A. No, how many pluses can you even add? As many pluses as you can add, he would get. But yeah, A+. He was been amazing this season. We've had those amazing moments under him. Like the West Ham goal, the Everton goal, the 2 Chelsea goals, the Arsenal goal, the West Ham goal, the other West Ham goal at home. The first one I met, the away goal. And we've had the penalties as well that he scored. He's hardly really scored a particularly sweaty goal. The only really one was the Fulham goal, and that wasn't a bad goal. It wasn't just a tap in. Next up, Robert Snodgrass. I'm going to give him a B+. When he's played, he's impressed me. I like Snodgrass. I'm a bit biased because Snodgrass is one of my favourite players. Phillips, I'm going to give a B-, and maybe I'm being a bit generous. But I think when he's been good this season, he's been good. I mean, he's been poor at times, but I think Chelsea, Southampton, he looked good. I think Phillips is almost one of those players that this season he's kind of played well when the team's played well, whereas a few other players they've looked good in a really poor performance. But Phillips has only really looked good when everybody else has looked good, and that's not a criticism of Phillips because he's played really well those games. I'm just saying, yeah, B-. Next up is Kamil Krasicki, and I'm going to give him a C- because he's not done much when he plays. I like Krasicki, and I think maybe he should be a bit more included, especially at times when we were playing players like Dingana who just weren't doing anything. So yeah, moving on to Colin Grant, and I'm going to give him a C- as well. And maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm going to give Krasicki a C because he's not done much. But Carl and Grant, it's not his fault, the lad, but we paid too much money for him, and he's not. He scored 1 goal for £16 million. Is not good enough. I think he'll be a good player in the Championship next season for us, but this season, no. Not for me, for Grant. Dean Garner, I'm going to give a C because he's had some decent moments, but he's often just gone missing. And Edwards, I'm also going to give a C because he's not really had many opportunities to do anything, and when he has done stuff, often he's just not looked that good. Now onto the strikers. By Diagne, or Diagne. I think it's Diagne, but I could be wrong. I'm going to give him a B- because he's done okay. I think we've had a good signing with Diagne because I don't think you can really do much better than 3 goals in 16 games for a loan signing. If that's over a whole season, that's about 6 or 7 goals. That's not bad. So yeah, by Diagne, gonna give him a C. Sorry, a B-. Charlie Austin, not really played that much, and when he played, he was okay, without being that good even. Either a C, because he's just not done much. Callum Robinson, I'm gonna give him a B- likewise. Never can fault Robinson for effort this season. Always put effort into the games he's played. Yeah, so I'm going to give him a B-. Scored some good goals, got some good memories with him as well. Kenneth Sahore, he's been out on loan all season, so can't really give him a grade. And Robson Carno, to end this little section here, I'm going to give him a C+ because he scored some good goals when he played. He scored 2 goals at the end of the season, so yeah. Now I'm going to go to my goal of the season, which of course is the Everton free kick. Also want to give for Pereira, also want to give shout outs to the Pereira's goal against West Ham. Robertson's volley, of course, against Chelsea was a great goal. Gallagher's goal against Sheffield United as well. And yeah, that is pretty much it. So thank you all for watching. Hopefully we'll get another podcast out about the David Wagner situation. We're going to get some signings in the summer. This is a bumper episode of the Throstle cast. This is something I kind of expected. I'd be doing more kind of episodes like, almost an hour long podcast. But thank you all for watching. Have a nice day. Let me know your thoughts about Wagner as well, and that I can maybe discuss them in the next episode. Let me know in the comments down below. Follow me on Twitter. I think I should link it in the comments. I tweet a lot. I tweet a lot more on Twitter than I do make posts. Than I do make videos on YouTube. You can tell I'm getting tired now. And with that, I will see you in the next one. A good